Hi, I'm Richard Davis. I'm supposed to talk about how I got to River Valley, and it's not a super long story. The Reader's Digest version is that back then, River Valley used to do the neighborhood outreach, neighborhood cleanup weekend, and they ended up showing up at a duplex I owned in the neighborhood. And my tenant called me up and said, "Hey, Richard, there's a bunch of church people here that want to clean up and cut down this limb that fell out of the tree." I'm like, "Okay, go for it, right?" It saved me $300-400 from having the tree company come out. They cleaned it up, and I came by the property a couple days later and looked great. And the next weekend, I went by the church thinking, they saved me $300-400. I'd like to, maybe make a donation to the youth group or something like that. And they were having their annual yard sale. So I wandered around the yard sale and I picked up a few things and went to pay for them, and they wouldn't let me pay. The whole purpose of the yard sale was just to give, right? And a little prayer card, they gave me a little prayer card, and that was really awesome. And I kind of drove away thinking, these are the kind of people I'd like to get to know. I need to check this place out. Had been hitting, a Catholic church here, a Methodist church there, a Baptist church that was close to my house, but I hadn't really made any real connections there. And so I think it was about 3 weeks later that I showed up at River Valley for a Sunday service, and the music was amazing. It just really touched me. And Pastor Tim, the message he gave that day was powerful. I mean, that's all I can say, it was powerful. And I thought, well, this is great. I need to do this again. So I came back the next weekend, I believe, and it was another unbelievable sermon, great music. And I can't remember, I think it was Joel and Alonzo, and maybe Terry grabbed me in the back before I could escape from the church, and had a little conversation with me about my relationship with Jesus Christ. And I grew up Catholic, so I have a relationship with God or a relationship with Jesus, but they were talking about something a little deeper, a little more personal. And so, we visited, and they asked me some questions, and I gave them some answers, and I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And then we went out to lunch. And one of the things at River Valley, I think, is I've always had a servant's heart. And I think God put me at River Valley because River Valley does that. They serve. And it provides me an avenue or a vehicle to serve. Not for me, not for you, but for God, for Jesus. Just to share Jesus' love through what we do for our neighbors, what we do for our friends, what we do for strangers, what we do for families down in Mexico. Making a difference doesn't have to be a big thing. It really is, I guess, just having Jesus in my heart or in your heart opens your eyes or puts a different filter on. 10 years ago, I'd be driving down the road and see somebody stuck in the middle of traffic or their car's broke down, and I got someplace to be, so I'm going. Yesterday, and a few weeks ago also, pull over, put the hazards on, get out, and help push them across 2 lanes of traffic into a parking lot. That's it, right? It's just the filters. Taking the focus off yourself and what's important to you for a minute, and what can be good for somebody else. When we had a small group doing service work in the community, forged some amazing friendships and relationships. There's this gentleman, George, he's in his late 80s. We went to his house to clean up his yard because somebody from our church had said a patient at their clinic was getting on in years and could use some help around his yard. And so we showed up with a group of people and did some spring cleaning or fall cleaning. And I'd still go visit George. That wasn't by accident. That was God putting something in my heart, me sharing it with some other people, and those people coming together with me and us representing Jesus in that man's house. And then building that, opening that door and building that relationship. And then, a year later, 2 years later, whatever it was, that relationship making a life difference. And that's huge, but it's not, right? I'm really grateful for the people that just showed up at my duplex that day. Never met them, and the way it's set up, I don't even know who. Now that I know everybody at church, I still don't know who was actually there doing the work that day. But their selfless servant heart that day, right, opened the door for me to build a deeper relationship with Jesus Christ. It opened the door for me to come to River Valley and be surrounded by these people that have a servant's heart, that want to do, not for themselves, but take a moment and do something for somebody else without the expectation of thanks or, a chocolate chip cookie or a bottle of ice water. It's just, they were just doing because Jesus said. If you're new, right, or early in your journey with Jesus Christ and wanting to know how to make a difference or how you can make a difference, I don't think it's a big thing. I think if you're spending time in the Word and surrounded by the right people, which I think is huge. I think you can't go down a path you want to go down for Jesus Christ or in any endeavor unless you're surrounded by people that are helping you go down that same path. It's really simple. It's the little things. It's the stopping to visit with the neighbor lady down the street and make sure everything's okay. It's, the other neighbor when they're out, looks like they're taking 2 or 3 trips out to the trash can, going over and intercepting and just helping out. You don't do that. You might do that because you're a good person, but you do that to share the love of Jesus by example. Not go over with the Bible and start reading verses to them because you think they need to hear it, but by taking what you've learned and applying it in action.